Greenland is massive. So why does almost no one live here? When we look at a map of the world, our eyes are naturally drawn to the massive landmasses that dominate the continents. We see the sprawling expanse of Russia, the vastness of Canada, the continental scale of Africa. Yet, sitting near the top of the globe is an island so enormous it appears to rival entire continents on its own. This is Greenland. On most standard projections, like the Mercator map commonly used in classrooms and online, Greenland's size is truly staggering. It seems to stretch endlessly, a colossal white giant that dwarfs many countries, appearing larger than nations combined. This visual representation plants a simple expectation in our minds. Sulpala plans. Shopisal door, some forajan, adding Belber, this big must surely be home to a proportionally large number of people. This initial perception, however, quickly collides with a startling reality. Despite its colossal appearance on our maps, Greenland is one of the most sparsely populated places on Earth. The disconnect between perceived size and actual population creates a geographical puzzle. Why does this immense island, which looks like it could house tens of millions, have a population smaller than a modest city? The numbers are stark and difficult to comprehend at first glance. While other large territories bustle with life, commerce, sprawling networks of towns and cities, Greenland remains almost entirely untouched by dense human settlement. This isn't a recent development, it's been this way for centuries. The question that follows is simple but profound. What is it about this piece of land that has resisted large-scale human settlement? The immediate and most common answer is the cold. While not incorrect, that answer is profoundly incomplete. It is a surface-level reason that masks a more complex, layered story hidden beneath the ice. The true reasons are not just temperature, they're tied to the land itself, its geology, its geography, and the immense permanent ice sheet that defines it. To understand why almost no one lives there, we must look beyond XD cold and take a cartographic journey. Peel back the layers of the map, correct distortions, reveal what lies beneath the endless white. This investigation isn't about danger or extreme hardship, but logical constraints and geographical truths shaping human history from the start. On the flat surfaces of our maps, Greenland presents an illusion of grandeur that is difficult to ignore. If you were to visually drag Greenland across a standard Mercator projection map, its perceived size would dominate many established landmasses. Positioned over Europe, it would stretch from the northern coast of Norway all the way down to the Mediterranean Sea. Shift it southward, and it appears to cover nearly the entire continent of Africa from top to bottom. This distortion is a fundamental feature of the Mercator projection, a mapping tool designed for navigation that preserves angles but massively inflates the size of landmasses nearer to the poles. Greenland, being situated so far north, is the most famous victim of this cartographic exaggeration. To grasp Greenland's real dimensions, we must switch from the familiar Mercator projection to an equal area map, which accurately represents the relative sizes of land masses. The transformation is immediate and striking. Suddenly, the comparison to Africa, which appeared almost equal in length, is shown to be wildly inaccurate. In reality, the entire landmass of Greenland could fit inside the African continent approximately 14 times over. Instead, its true area is closer to that of a single large country, like the Democratic Republic of Congo or Mexico. It is vast, to be sure, it remains the world's largest island, but it is not the behemoth that our standard maps have led us to believe. This act of correcting the map does more than just resize a piece of land, it reframes the entire question. We are no longer looking for reasons why a landmass the size of Africa is empty. We are now asking why a territory the size of Mexico is so sparsely populated. The population figures, when laid over this corrected map, paint an even starker picture of emptiness than the geography alone. The land is big, but the human footprint upon it is microscopically small, confined to the very edges of this vast and formidable territory. The total population of this massive island hovers around just 56,000 people. To put that number into perspective, it is a number more commonly associated with the crowd at a major sporting event. If you were to gather every single resident of Greenland into one place, they would not even fill a large football stadium. The human presence is not just small, it is incredibly concentrated. This is not a low-density population like in rural Australia or Siberia. Instead, the population clings exclusively to the coast. Nearly all 56,000 inhabitants live in small, isolated settlements scattered along the southwestern coast, where the climate is marginally milder. The capital, Nuuk, has roughly 19,000 people, about a third of the country's population. The rest live across roughly 70 other settlements, many with only a few hundred residents or fewer. There are no inland cities. There are no farming towns in the interior. There are no roads connecting the east coast to the west coast. Life in Greenland is, and always has been, a coastal affair. The vast white expanse on the map is, for practical purposes, uninhabited. Why is the total population so incredibly small, and why is that population confined so strictly to the coastal fringe? The answers lie in the land itself. The primary reason for Greenland's emptiness is the Greenland ice sheet. This is not a seasonal layer of snow or a collection of alpine glaciers. It is a permanent, monolithic dome of ice, up to 3 kilometers thick, nearly 2 miles thick, that has persisted for hundreds of thousands of years. The ice sheet covers about 80% of the island, leaving only the coastal periphery potentially habitable. The interior of Greenland is, quite literally, a continent of ice. This ice sheet is not static. It is a dynamic system in constant slow motion. Snowfall accumulates in the high-altitude center, compacting over millennia into dense glacial ice. Under its own colossal weight, the ice flows outward toward the coasts, transporting ice from the interior to the sea, where it breaks off into the icebergs that famously populate the North Atlantic. The sheer mass of over 2 quintillion tons of ice has depressed Greenland's central landmass. It has pushed the bedrock down, so large areas actually lie below sea level. If the ice sheet melted entirely, the center wouldn't be a high plateau. Instead, it would be a vast inland sea, or a large lake surrounded by a ring of coastal mountains. The interior is not simply an empty, cold region waiting for hardy pioneers. It is a landscape not of land, but of ice. There has never been a frontier to push into, only an ice wall to turn back from. With the interior established as an uninhabitable ice continent, our focus must shift to the coastal fringe, the only place where people actually live. This ice-free zone, however, is not a gentle, rolling coastal plain. The livable part of Greenland is predominantly a rugged, mountainous landscape composed of ancient, hard, crystalline rock. This is the exposed edge of the Greenland Shield. For millions of years, this rock has been scraped, carved, and fractured by the colossal glaciers flowing from the interior, leaving behind a dramatic and challenging terrain. The landscape is characterized by steep-sided mountains that rise directly from the sea, separated by deep, narrow fjords. Flat, arable land is exceptionally rare. Every settlement in Greenland is a testament to human ingenuity in finding a small, viable foothold in an overwhelmingly vertical and rocky world. This geography creates profound isolation. The sea is the only reliable highway between them. A trip from Nuuk to Tasiilaq is not a drive but a flight, because no land route could cross the ice sheet. Imagine Greenland not as one landmass, but as an archipelago of rocky islands surrounding a frozen continent. This is a more accurate mental model for understanding settlement patterns. Each town is effectively an island, connected mainly by boat or by plane. There are no roads between most settlements. The geographical constraints have a direct and profound impact on its economy. With no significant land-based agriculture possible, the vast majority of its export earnings come from just one sector: fishing. Because so little can be grown locally, Greenland must import the vast majority of its food, consumer goods, and industrial materials. This reliance on imports makes the cost of living extremely high. The potential for economic diversification does exist, primarily in mining and tourism. However, extracting these resources is incredibly challenging and expensive due to the remote locations, harsh environment, and lack of infrastructure. For thousands of years, successive waves of migration brought Paleo-Eskimo cultures to the island. Their settlement patterns followed a strict logic dictated by the land and the sea. Their entire world was the boundary between ocean and ice. The inland ice, Surmerswak, was legend, not home. Even the Norse, led by Eric the Red, followed the same pattern. They established farms in sheltered southwestern fjords, but their attempt to transplant European agriculture failed when conditions changed. Survival in Greenland has always meant embracing the sea, not conquering the land. The emptiness of Greenland is the most logical outcome of its extraordinary geography, a truth that has been respected by every human who has ever called this magnificent island home. Greenland isn't empty because people failed to settle it, it's empty because the land never allowed it. As we zoom back out to the familiar view of the world map, Greenland resumes its exaggerated dominant position at the top of the globe. Yet, it no longer looks the same. The vast white expanse is no longer a blank space of possibility, but a symbol of geographical certainty. It represents a place where the land itself, in its most powerful form, has dictated the terms of human presence. The island is not a void on the map to be filled, but a complete and coherent world of its own, defined by the interplay of ice, rock, and sea.